Hello fiber friends, and today we will be learning the Tunisian crochet running stitch. And much like any fiber art, we will be starting with our slip knot, where you take your yarn and you'll flip it over itself until it creates this little X. Hold on to that X so that this loop that you've just created stays in place. You'll take your index and thumb and place it behind that loop and through to grab the working yarn. It'll be attached to your big ball of yarn, and then you will pull it through that loop, and that is your slip knot. Today we will be using a 10mm Tunisian crochet hook, and that is just so that the stitches are easier to see. You place your hook right inside and pull that working yarn so that it tightens onto your hook. So this particular stitch, it requires multiples of 2. I do apologize, it's very windy in my home right now, and if you hear a lot of background bumps and such, it's just my home is old and it's very windy, so it's gonna be pretty loud. Okay, so this particular stitch is worked in multiples of 2, and then you will add 3 afterward. Now, I prefer to have an even number, but this seems to not like that. So anyone who only wants to work in even numbers, this is not the stitch for you. But if it doesn't necessarily matter, then however long you want it, as long as it's a multiple of 2, and then you add 3 afterward. So for this, it is, I usually want to work 10 stitches, but if we are going to add 3, we will make it 11, which will make it 8 stitches plus 3. So you're 2, 4, 6, 8, and then plus 3, 9, 10, 11. That is the closest to 10 that we're gonna get. You can do less, but I don't want to do less, so we're gonna be doing 11 stitches. So what we're going to do is we're going to make 11 chains. So with the crook of your hook right here, you will grab onto your working yarn and pull it through that loop, and that is your first chain. Now again, you will take your hook, and with the crook of that hook, catch onto that working yarn right there and pull it through the loop, and that is your second chain. And we are going to make 11 of these. Alright, so once you are done with making those chains, what we're going to do is we are going to flip everything over until it reveals these, or so that it reveals these little back bumps here, and this is what we're going to be working into. The first bump we're going to work into is going to be the second one, because we're going to be skipping this first one right here that's immediately afterward, and immediately go into the second one. Now I like to use this little end part of the hook, not the crook of the hook or even this part of the hook, to work into these back bumps, because it makes it a lot easier. Whatever is easier for you, just as long as you can get into these bumps right here, and it's just because it looks pretty, honestly, in my personal opinion. But you'll push that right into that bump, that second bump, because we skipped that first one. Push it through, take your working yarn and bring it over your hook so that you can grab onto it with the crook of your hook and pull it through that bump. I'm going to show that again with the next bump here. Right there, insert, slide that tip of the hook right there all the way through, yarn over your hook. With the crook of your hook, pull it through that back bump, there's another stitch. And we're going to go all the way down to this last one. Okay, so this is about the time that you should probably be counting how many stitches you have on your hook, just to make sure that you have the exact amount of stitches that you wanted in the first place. So I wanted 11 today, and I'm going to count this out. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I have 11 stitches on my hook, which is exactly what I wanted. Now, once we finish with that, we will be doing our back pass, which is you take your yarn and with the crook of your hook, you will pull that through that first loop right there. Then you push and grab your yarn with the crook of your hook again and pull it through 2 loops instead of just 1. And you will continue to pull through 2 loops until you only have 1 loop left on your hook. Okay, so I'm going to show you something that you can do. It's completely optional. For this stitch, it does say that you can change the color for each row. It makes it look very pretty. You don't have to do it. You can still continue to work this project without changing the color. However, I'm going to show it with the color change. So this will be the second color we're using. It's this gorgeous yellow. Now with your second color, you will take that, pull it into with these last 2 loops, pull it through those last 2 loops. And that will be the start of your new color. And now we will be working basically the same as usual. Again, you don't have to do this color change, but if you want to, this is how you would do it. So with this, that row is done. Now to start this second row, we are going to skip this first loop right here, because this loop counts as our first stitch. So what we're going to do is Tunisian simple stitch. Okay, so what we're going to do is our Tunisian simple stitch, where we will take our hook, and in this loop, the next loop right here, the bar that is the closest to you, you're going to take your hook and push it through that bar that's the closest to you. Push your hook through, take your working yarn and yarn over, grab that yarn with the crook of your hook and pull it through. Now the next stitch is going to be a little different, just a little bit. This next loop right here, you're going to do the same thing in that you're going to push your hook into the bar that's the closest to you, but you will not be pulling your yarn through it. And let me show that repeat again. In this next stitch, that loop, the bar that's closest to you, you will insert your hook into that bar, yarn over, grab that yarn with the crook of your hook and pull through. But the one right after that, yes, you will be inserting in the same manner. You find that loop, the bar that's closest to you, insert, but do not pull that yarn through. Now you're going to see that it's going to cause this kind of difference, like a different color and pattern, like it's going to be alternating. And we're going to do that all the way down to the end. Okay, so our last stitch, we're on our last stitch. This is the end. That last little loop right here, you can see that it starts to form right here. It always looks a little funky just because it looks different than the rest of the loops, because it has this extra bar that goes onto the outside. What we're going to do is we're going to insert our hook in the middle of that loop with the 2 bars on the outermost side. So you push that through, yarn over, and pull up your yarn with the crook of your hook through the loop right here, and this is how it's going to look. You can tighten it if you color changed. Always try to make sure that this first stitch is tight before you weave in your ends later, because it's just going to hang out here for a little while. But once you're all finished, you can weave in the ends and that'll make it a little tighter as well. So what we're going to do is our back pass. We're going to take our yarn with the crook of our hook, pull through 1 loop, and then take the yarn with the crook of our hook again and pull through 2 loops all the way down. For anyone who is color changing, this is where you will color change for this row. So instead of pulling through the last 2 loops, just like normal, you will take your second or your first color that you had started with. It's still attached. We did not cut it off. Probably should have said that earlier, but we did not cut it off. You will pull that upward, and instead of pulling this secondary color through, you will pull that first color through so that you are switching your color again. Just make sure that loop is tight. And that is how it's going to look. For anyone who's not doing a color change, you could just work it just like normal, but for anyone who is color changing, this is how you would do it. So now, for this, we are going to skip this first loop, because obviously this loop on our hook counts as our first stitch. So we skip this first loop right here that is already coming out. We will insert our hook into this bar. So you see this loop right here. Just like before, we're going to insert the hook into the frontmost bar. Now we're not going to pull through. This is an alternating pattern. So in the first one, we pulled our yarn through. For this one, we're just going to push our hook through, and we're not going to pull our yarn. We're just going to go straight to this next loop. And if you changed your color, it is going to be in the green color here. If you changed your color, the ones that are green, these are the ones that you'll be doing the Tunisian simple stitch, and the ones that are yellow would be the Tunisian crochet slip stitch, which is again just pushing your hook through and not pulling through. So we find that loop, and it's very easy to see once you've changed colors, just because now it's green. It should be pretty easy to see because the loops in and of themselves, you can see exactly where they start and finish. But long rambling aside, we will insert our hook into the bar, yarn over, and pull through. Something that'll be easy for those who are not changing colors is to find which ones go all the way down into the previous row and which one starts just in that one row there. The ones that you will be slip stitching will be the ones that are shorter, and the ones that you will be simple stitching are the longer ones, like so. So if you need some sort of visual representation other than the colors, that will be your best bet. Now, continuing this pattern, push through that front bar. You see that loop and how short it is right there. Into that front bar, you will push through. Do not pull anything through. You just push that through and go onto that next loop right here, where the front bar will go down lower into that previous row. So you will push your hook into that front bar, yarn over, and pull through. And you're going to do that for the rest of the row. So we are at our last stitch, which is the ending stitch, which will always have that funky little look. It's always going to have that loop and the two bars that are on the outermost side, and we're going to work it just like in the previous row, where you insert your hook into that loop with the two bars on the outermost side of your project, yarn over, and pull it through. This is how it should look. Alternating colors. That is what we're looking for. That is what we want. Now, what we're also going to do is we are going to take our working yarn with the crook of our hook, pull through one, and then grab the yarn again and pull through two loops. And we're going to do that all the way down. For those who are changing colors like I am, you will be doing that color swap again when you have your last two loops. For those of you who are not switching colors, you can go all the way down until you have one more loop left on your hook. So, because I am switching colors, I have two loops, and the best way to change your colors is you pull up. Basically, again, it's not cut off. We did not cut it off. It's still attached. You will be pulling up your yellow, or rather my yellow will be pulled up. Your secondary color will be pulled up, and then you will pull it through those two, and that will become your last stitch. This is how it looks so far. Now we are going to skip this first loop, much like we've been doing, because this loop counts as our first stitch. Now again, with alternating this, you can see how the stitch is longer versus this one that's shorter. The ones that are longer will be your slip stitches, or rather will be your simple stitches. Wow, I can't think right now. So these ones will be your simple stitches. The short ones will be your slip stitches. So what we're going to do is we are going to insert into that bar, that long bar right there, yarn over and pull through. The shorter one right here, again, the bar closest to you, insert, but you're gonna leave that in there. This bar is long. The one closest to you, you will insert, pull your yarn through. But that short one right next to it, that short bar closest to you, you will just insert it and leave it as that. Next bar. Right here, it is longer. Yarn over, pull through, and you're going to repeat this all the way down. Now we are on our last stitch, which again is just that loop with the 2 bars on the outermost side where you're going to just insert it through. All of these end stitches will be the same. You insert it through that loop, both bars on the outermost part of your project, yarn over and pull through. Now I'm going to work more of this pattern off screen just so that you can see a more fuller version of this stitch. So this is how this stitch has turned out right here. It is gorgeous. You could see the lines. This is why it's called the running stitch, because all these lines are running up your project here. It is gorgeous. You can alternate colors, however, like whatever colors you want, like a nice blue and purple, or like a pink and purple, or even like a orange and yellow. Like that would be really nice. It is a type of a mix of fabric that is a little dense. It does curl just a little bit. You can see this curl right here that it's trying to do. So it is recommended to use a larger hook. Again, we used a 10mm mostly to see the stitches, but it did help in this case because if I used a tighter hook, this probably would have curled so much more. So just be wary of that whenever you are doing this. Definitely blocking. If you are able to do that, that would be great. But yeah, this is how the stitch is turning out. This would probably make a really good bag, honestly. Like a bag with this stitch would be pretty cute, actually. But yeah, I hope this was helpful and that this helps your endeavors in crafting. All right, happy crafting.